terminal here, our index down by 0.6% to 7,068.92. I'll take out for you guys the 1-day chart here so you can see how we did have a bit of a pullback or a slide and then a bit of a recovery towards the end, but nevertheless far from where we were the day prior. Let's take a look at our biggest movers of this Wednesday or hump day. You can see BDO leading the charge here, up by 2.4%, followed by Bloomberry, Security Bank, and Globe Telecom. On the downside, you've got AC Energy and Converge as the worst performers. And speaking of AC Energy, that had actually fallen. It's actually closing down by 6.2%, but it fell as much as 13% today. That was the steepest decline in over 9 months. That's after, of course, it had enjoyed 8 days straight of quite a rally, and it was already overbought. It was the highest overbought level in 7 days. Another thing to be watching out for, I'll be pulling out All Home here because its sister company, AllDay, which is, of course, on the road to its IPO, has now set its IPO price. It's going to be 60 centavos per share. Recall that they have already received the go signal of the SEC, and they're seeking 5.5 billion pesos in their IPO. And speaking of still consumers here, supermarkets, mall traffic, let's take a look at SM Prime. SM Prime is up by 1.3% to 35 pesos and 80 centavos at the close. This as they've announced that they will be opening a new mall in Camarines Norte, that's in the city of Daet, on Friday. That is October 15th. That will be the newest and first mall in the province of Camarines Norte, although it's already the third in the Bicol region. That's 47,000 square meters of gross floor area added to its mall portfolio. And finally, I just wanted to take a quick peek at our local unit, the peso. It is, however, weak today, closing at 50.69 to the green. Back nevertheless above 50 levels, but still stronger than the levels that we were seeing. We had been breaching above 51, so still strengthening today. This, of course, amid the words of BSP Governor Ben Diokno signaling that he is comfortable with the levels, or at least with the recent trading range. He did mention that the peso trading between 50 to 51 against the dollar is not worrisome for the central bank. He did say we have hefty reserves, and he had said we have manageable inflation that he expects will be moving down to target levels by the end of the year. And of course, as mentioned, Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Diokno is confident that that will be tapering down. He discusses more of this on Bloomberg Daybreaks Asia.
Bank of the Philippines has a very good track record in inflation targeting. So we recognize that there are some items in our consumer price index which is driving inflation in the Philippines. It's mainly food prices, okay? Pork, for example. But the government has already allowed the importation of pork way back, and it's not coming in. So we're very confident that while inflation is a little slightly above our target range of 2 to 4%, right now it's 4.8%, inflation will slowly go down to where we want it to be, maybe before the end of the year, and it will average 3.3% next year, and 3.0% in 2023. So that's our target.
Well, are you concerned that as inflation rises in other countries, and the countries who have the space are feeling it's something they must respond to, even if it's just reducing their bond purchases like the Fed, others like Korea has hiked its rate, Reserve Bank in New Zealand, are you concerned that your space to remain accommodative is shrinking a bit? And in particular, do you expect the Fed's taper, which could happen in just a couple of weeks now, that could materially affect your outlook and your policy path?
Okay, the tapering could take place towards the end of this year, but we're less concerned with what's happening in the U.S. because I've seen many crises in my life. No, this crisis is different from previous crises.
Here are the other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Aside from fuel, prices of vegetables have also started climbing because of crop damage caused by severe tropical storm Maring. The Agriculture Department says that based on their last monitoring, prices of highland vegetables in the metro have increased by 10 to 30 pesos per kilo. That's from yesterday's prices. In the Kalayaan Talipapa market, prices of cauliflower and broccoli went up by 30 to 50 pesos a kilo. Other commodities affected by Maring are rice, corn, high-value crops, and livestock coming from the Cagayan Valley, Ilocos region, and the Cordillera Administrative Region. The total damage to agriculture due to the severe tropical storm has meanwhile reached almost 450 million pesos. The Department of Agriculture says it could take a month before prices of agricultural products normalize. For now, the agency is in talks with suppliers from northern Mindanao for alternate sources of highland vegetables. Now, transport groups are calling for a fare hike for jeepneys as oil price rises for 7 straight weeks. Transport groups signed a petition urging the government to allow a 3 peso increase in minimum jeepney fare in Metro Manila in regions 3 and 4. They say drivers are finding it more and more difficult to earn as diesel prices continue increasing on top of having less passengers to ensure social distancing within their vehicles. The Energy Department is also expecting pump prices of diesel and gasoline to continue climbing next week and maybe even until the end of the year. The DOE's Oil Industry Management Bureau and the LTFRB are meanwhile now implementing a fare hike and providing cash assistance to the transport industry. But if Transport Secretary Artugade had it his way, he would not allow any fare hikes for now, saying this could be a heavy burden to the commuting public amid the pandemic. With holes in consumers' pockets and businesses struggling to plug their bleeding costs, rising oil prices are unwelcome by a net importer like the Philippines. Here to chat more about how this may affect us, we have with us Attorney Vic Dimagiba, President of Laban Konsyumer. Good afternoon po, Attorney, and welcome to Business World Live.
Hi, good afternoon to you. Yes, how can I help your group in the current issues on prices?
Attorney, let's talk about the rising oil prices and imminent fare hikes that will be resulting, of course, as transportation groups are asking for this. Paano na yan, sir? How do we balance between, the public, the general public, not being able to afford higher prices of transportation at a time when unemployment is at very, very high levels, but at the same time protecting the transport industry?
Well, personally, I am also not in favor of a fare hike. It may have a domino effect and could be counterproductive in the way we want to manage inflation arising from two things: the existing pandemic, second, the rising oil prices, and third, the recent spate of typhoons, and that is affecting the flow of goods from the north to the national capital region. Having said that, while we cannot control how crude oil prices abroad behaves, in our group, Laban Consumer Inc., we propose three things that government should consider by way of assisting all sectors of consumers, not only transport drivers, but everybody, consumers in the country. By this time, we should not forget that our oil prices is one of the highest in ASEAN, particularly because of the tax component that goes with it. We pay excise taxes on fuel plus the 12% VAT, and that was pursuant to a law that was passed in 2018. They call it the Tax Reform Inclusion Acceleration and Inclusion Act. As consumers, we pay 10 pesos per liter of gasoline excise tax, 6 pesos per liter for diesel and kerosene, and for LPG, 3 pesos per kilo. And then you add 12% tax because 12% VAT, because excise tax becomes part of the cost of the petroleum product. You know, if government would have the political will
Okay.
and the desire to really help all sectors of the economy, I think it is best that for a limited period, until the crude oil prices abroad doesn't ease to the level that we desire, we should suspend the collection of the excise taxes.
Okay.
Based on our computation, ma'am, gasoline alone, we should be saving 50% of the year-to-date increases so
Mhm.
far, which is already 17 pesos per liter. For kerosene and diesel, consumers should be saving at least 30% of the prices at the moment. We have collected so much excise taxes the past 3, 4 years. I think our request is not very difficult. By executive order, the president can order the suspension of the collection, say for 2 weeks, and then you renew and study again for 2 weeks. It has nothing to do with the. I heard some economists in government say that we should not worry about the rising oil prices because it has been factored already in the way they have assumed
Okay.
what would be the inflation for the rest of the year. I don't think consumers will understand those kind of arguments and
Okay.
explanation. To the consumers, what is important is how much more money they will have
Correct.
to spend
Sa pocket
as an
nila.
impact
Opo.
of all
Yes.
these oil prices. Yun ang importante.
Sir,
Okay?
as a lawyer, is there a provision in the train law, at least to your understanding, wherein if the prices of oil are too high, that this tax can actually not be collected or can be frozen? Is that something that is easy for the
I
government to implement? I
I
remember
I am
this
not
happened before.
yeah. I'm not using the train law as my legal basis. I'm using the president's proclamation
Okay.
issued last month, Presidential Proclamation 1218, that
Mm.
extended to another year the state of calamity in the country due to the pandemic. That's an extraordinary power, and they can use that. They can use that by requesting the president to sign an executive order.
Mhm.
Kasi if you will use the train law, then you need 3 months average of $80 per barrel of crude oil. Yeah, we tried it. We won't even probably, crude oil is not like that.
Mhm.
Crude oil prices is very cyclical. 1 week and another week goes down. But meantime, we're feeling the burn. We're feeling the prices hike.
Mhm.
When fuel are high, the transport cost of moving goods and services will also be high. Kasi wala man magagawa tayo kundi pass on lahat yan eh. So how do you at least caution or
Mhm.
mitigate? I think
Mhm.
mitigate is the appropriate word. Na the consumers can feel a little relief. Not only transport drivers kasi that's why personally I said I don't agree with the fare hike. No, I heard
Okay.
Secretary Dugade said that he's not also in favor because may domino effect siya.
Mhm.
Yung minimum wage earners tatamaan yan immediately sa
Sir,
pamasahe lang. Yeah.
yes, sir. Sir, we're running out of time po, but just one last question, sir. There have been price caps on other things like vegetables, for example, pork. Is this something that can be done as well for the
Yes,
transport industry?
yes,
And
yes.
how
Very
exactly
good.
would you go about this, sir?
Very good. You reminded me about the price cap. That's the second proposal of our group to reimpose price cap or price ceiling on basic necessities. Basic of more basic like rice, meat products, milk, bread, canned goods, sardines, and all those things. Yung in-impose nilang higher SRP in August, they can suspend that. We're not saying revoke, no? We're not saying remove. We say suspend. Ano ba naman yung suspend? 2 weeks? I think it's not a big deal for businessmen who have learned so much, particularly the food sector last year. Dalawa lang kami, suspend excise taxes, impose price ceiling. Say 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, until crude oil prices eases. Yun, may magagawa tayo doon. Yung presyo, wala tayong magagawa doon kasi bumibili tayo. We are what we call ourselves a net importer and net buyer of petroleum products.
Okay, so konting tulong lang po is what you're asking for the interim as of course we adjust to these rising oil prices which we have no control
Tama,
after.
tama
Maraming
po.
salamat. Thank you so much for those
Sana,
updates.
thank you
Attorney,
then. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you.
good afternoon, sir. And those are the biggest stories this trading day, October 13, 2021. Catch Business World Live. That's tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Danie Laurel. Mask on. Wash hands. Stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.